Hey everybody, so a couple of days ago, as of this filming, Montreal Canadiens made a trade. They acquired the rights to Joel Edmundson from the Carolina Hurricanes in exchange for a fifth-round draft pick. I thought I'd take a closer look because there's a lot of talk about whether this was a good deal, whether this wasn't a good deal, and we'll take a closer look at it right now. Joel Edmundson, 27 years old, so he's not old. 6'4", 215 pounds. He is a big physical shutdown defender. Something Montreal did need because they needed to address, I think, the I want to say, weak, soft kind of play around Carey Price when the heat is on, when it's near the end of the period or the end of the game, and they give up that bad goal from something in close. I think that's addressing that problem with this guy. So I like that. He, in 2019-20, last season, he had 68 games played, 7 goals, 13 assists for 20 points, 1827 for time on ice on average, and he was top 60 in points for defensemen and top 32 in goals for defensemen. So not bad season totals for a guy who's kind of known as a stay-at-home defenseman. So that I think that's pretty good. He's kind of a lot along the lines of an Alex Emelin, who could put up a couple of points here and there, and he was that big hitter, physical guy. You know, I don't know that he was a shutdown guy. For me, in my mind, I don't see that for Emelin, but that big bruising, physical kind of defenseman. He's not another Karl Alzner. That's something people are saying. He's another Karl Alzner. Why'd they get him? Why waste the fifth rounder on Karl Alzner again? He's not a Karl Alzner. He's a smooth skating defenseman. Yeah, he's not the fastest. He's not the most mobile guy, but he can do the job. And he's not Karl Alzner. He's not. Solid defender. He is a solid defender. He was in St. Louis. St. Louis would tell you he was a solid defender. Carolina would tell you he was a good, solid shutdown guy. But the analytics guys are going to tell you that he's below average, and this is a waste of a fifth-round pick, and he's going to be bad. He's going to be another Karl Alzner, and I don't agree with that. I think he was a good, solid, physical kind of guy. His analytics numbers might not be great because he must have been out there in those dangerous situations. Facing those kind of situations, your numbers might not be the best. Plus, he's not an offensive kind of guy to offset some of that. So I think that, yeah, I wouldn't go by that. I think he was a solid defender. Similar negative things were said about Ben Sherratt when they signed him last season. He's not mobile. He doesn't put up enough offense. He can't defend well enough. He's whatever. They said a lot of negative things about Sherratt. And hey, that situation did not turn out too badly, did it? And I think it'd be very similar here in that, yeah, you might hear some negative things, but I think Edmundson will bring some good positive things to this team. He's going to shore up a couple of our weaknesses, and it gives us a really big, physical, tall, size defense. Good size on defense, which is Montreal has a lack of size overall, and this helps to shore that up. They gave up a fifth-round draft pick in 2020 to get him. I've seen anywhere from, they shouldn't have had to do that, or why'd they do that? They ruined the team by making this move and giving that pick. Like, how? It's just a fifth-round pick. Mark Bergevin has been gathering these picks this season, I think in the thought of making deals and using these picks, not thinking, well, I've got 15 picks, I'm going to draft them all. They can only have so many contracts signed at any particular time, and you can't have too many prospects it's a waste. So he was going to use some of these to make deals, and that's what he did, and it's a fifth-round pick. How many big-name impact players have come out of the fifth round? We happen to have one in Brendan Gallagher, but there's not a ton of those guys, and I don't think it's a problem. So, no, giving up a fifth-round pick was fine. Even though it's just his rights, they have to negotiate and they have to sign him. Is he a depth defenseman? That's another thing. They're saying he's a depth defenseman. He's not top 4. He's going to be in the bottom 6 or a bottom pairing. I don't know. Depth defenseman. He's been top 4 most of his career. So with St. Louis, most of the time with St. Louis, he was top 4. And in Carolina last season, he was top 4. He was the 4th highest ice time. The last 2 seasons on his team. And I don't know, is it top 4 defenseman, a depth defenseman? I don't think so. You might say your 5th and 6th guys could be considered depth because you might play depth kind of guys there. But in your top 4, those are not your depth players. Those are top 4 defensemen. There's a difference. He plays top 4 minutes, which is a clue that he's a top 4 defenseman. He does not play on the power play. I don't think last year. I think he had 0 seconds on the power play. He kills penalties, and he's a good penalty killer, so he's going to help Montreal there. Montreal could use a little help on the penalty kill. And he is more mobile, I think, than most people think. Like I said, refer back to he's not a Karl Alzner. He's more mobile. He's not the most fleet of foot, the most mobile defenseman, but he's not going to hurt you that much from that. Now, the one problem here with that is you've already got Weber, you've got Sherratt, now you got Edmundson, not the most mobile defenseman out there. So you got 3 of your defensemen are not considered mobile. Petrie is, Kulak is, Mete is, but these 3 guys are not the most. But I don't think that's going to be a bad thing because it really addresses a big problem Montreal's had. Like I said, defending around Price when when there's a scrum or whatever, giving up those soft goals around the net. So you might give up a little bit in mobility to address that situation, but I don't think it's to the total detriment of the team. What does trading for his rights show? Trading for his rights, I think they want to sign him. It shows they want to sign him because otherwise they just wait and they'd be one of the teams negotiating with him. They don't want the possibility that he gets lured away by another team first because sometimes, you let the first team in and that's the team the guy signs with. So they want that opportunity to be that first team, to have a month to negotiate with him. They're already negotiating from what I've heard, and I think that they're going to sign him. Last season, no, 2 seasons ago, so in his Stanley Cup winning season with St. Louis, there's another thing. He's a Stanley Cup winner. That's great experience. That's invaluable. He made $3 million AAV for that season. Last season, 3.1, so he had a $100,000 upgrade. But remember, he stayed in the States. Now he's coming to Canada and to Quebec. You got to figure that's going to go up a little bit. But I figure you can look at the Ben Sherratt contract and figure he's going to be somewhere in there. So Ben Sherratt, 3 years, $10.5 million. I can see Edmundson being 3 years, $10 million to 11, somewhere between 10 and 11, which would bring him just under Sherratt at 3.3, just over at 3.7, something like that, maybe 4 million, and maybe 3 to 5 years. But a contract like that for a guy who's 27 when he signs it isn't going to be a contract that's saying 2 years, kids are coming up through the pipeline and there's no spot for him. Well, that's a movable contract. If it's if he's not overpaid and he's still young, I think it's a movable contract. I don't think this is a problem. So look at the Sherratt contract, I think, to get a good idea of what Edmundson's going to get. So how does this affect Alex Romanov? There's a question that's out there as well because Romanov is just coming in. They didn't want him to spend another season in the KHL, so they brought him in, burned a year of his contract to bring him to the bubble and all that stuff. He's not a guy that you figure they're going to say, well, he'll play in Laval. I don't think so. I think Montreal wants Romanov here in Montreal next season. But, and I've said this in other videos, I think he comes in as a third pairing defenseman in his first season, Romanov. Smaller ice surface he has to get used to, the North American game. There's a lot of things, just North American life. And I think playing him on a few less minutes and on the third pairing, not as much responsibility, I think that eases him into that. And I can see that being the first year. So I don't think that this deal to get Edmundson affects Romanov in any way. I really don't. I think he would still be third pairing, and he's still going to be third pairing until he plays his way into the second pairing, is what I think. So I don't think it really means anything. Yeah, he could go to Laval. He could play 20 minutes a game there, and he still get used to the small ice surface and all that stuff. But I don't think Montreal brought him in early like that to play him in Laval. And Bergevin has said he wants to see him in Montreal next season, and he did announce yesterday. He came out and said Price, Suzuki, KK, and Romanov are untouchables. So don't look to any trade rumors where they're going to be involved. That's not going to happen. So, yeah. So I don't think it affects him in any way. I think Romanov's fine, and you shouldn't be upset that this might mean Romanov plays in the Val. There will be more moves to come because now there's 5 guys on that left side. Sherratt, Edmundson, Romanov, Kulak, and Mete. I think one of Mete or Kulak will get traded, and the other one will shift over to the right side to play with Romanov. That's what I think. And yeah, there's going to be some kind of movement there. Plus, they're looking to address one more spot, and that's on the wing up front. And I think they might choose one of the defensemen in a deal to get a winger. So, yeah, there will be more moves to come. Now, Alex Pietrangelo was a teammate of Edmundson and Jake Allen in St. Louis. There's a lot of talk of Alex Pietrangelo, Montreal being interested in signing him. He's a free agent. He made $6.5 million last year. He's the captain in St. Louis and their best defenseman, I think, or right up there. He's 30 years old, and Montreal seems to be interested, or the talk is that Montreal's interested. So the question is this a harbinger, nice word, to Montreal signing Pietrangelo? And I don't think so. I really don't. Okay, this is what I wrote. So a side rumor is being talked about. That's this. Are the Habs trying to lure Alex Pietrangelo to Montreal? Jake Allen is his friend, apparently one of his good friends from St. Louis, and Edmundson is his former playing partner. He played with him most of the time in St. Louis. Not on the power play, but on the 5-on-5. So in my opinion, I don't think that this means that they're trying to get Pietrangelo, because Pietrangelo will be expensive, 8, 9, 9.5, something like that million, and long term, I'm sure he's looking for 7 years. Montreal would have to move out one of their big guys, I think, not just a Kulak or a Mete. You're looking at having to move a Petrie or Sherratt. You're going to have to move one of those guys to be able to afford Pietrangelo. I think that's my opinion. And I don't think that's going to happen. So if you add Pietrangelo to the defensive squad, here's another big point. If you add Pietrangelo to this defensive squad and you haven't moved anybody other than a Kulak or a Mete, you have a $30+ million blue line, and that is too much. It's too much money on the blue line, and then you take into account you got $15 million in goalies. That's $45 million plus on the back end. So that's more than half your salary cap on the back end. That's not going to work. So anybody really thinking that Pietrangelo is coming into this defensive core, that's not happening. One of the other big guys is going to have to be shifted out, and other moves made in order to do that. Yes, they have the cap space, but I don't think you spend $45 million for your goalies and your full defensive core. I don't think so. So I don't think that that's a legitimate rumor that Pietrangelo is coming here. As a matter of fact, I wrote not happening. Too much money on defense, not happening. So there you go. That's my opinion on Joel Edmundson, and my opinion on whether Pietrangelo might be coming to Montreal. Whether I'm right, whether I'm wrong, we're going to find out in the future. So thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Really appreciate that. Also, while you're down there in the comment section, let me know what you thought about this video, about what I said about all this stuff, what your opinion is on that in the comment section. And if you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and ring that notifications bell, and that's going to get you your daily fix of Blue Blanc Rouge right here at Talking Habs. Thanks everybody for watching. Really appreciate that. Peace out, y'all. Stay safe there. Stay safe wherever you are. And I'll see you next video. And members, if you're watching, members only video tonight, live stream tonight. Hope to see y'all there. Bye, everyone.